Oh yeah, we back. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Look. Sorry that we had left you for a minute, but you know we was coming back again. You know what I mean? With the cozy blanket. Well, y'all probably need a cozy beach towel for how hot it is right now, and a
Okay.
cup of ice. You know what I mean? And a cooler, and some AC, depending on where you're at. Well, no, not depending on where you're at. It's hot out here in America. Okay, God done turned up the heat, and it's getting hot. So please find a place to get you some cool air, some cooler drinks. You know what I mean? Stay hydrated and stay safe. Because we in for a little ride, okay, with this heat. All right. Some ain't even kick in yet. We got like 5 days before summer has even begin, maybe 6 days. So yeah. But that's not why we're here. But I just want to give a quick opening. Y'all know how I do. You know what I mean? Welcome to the intellectual soapbox. You know what I mean? Also known as the knowledge relationship family. Okay. We are here, and today we have an interesting topic called "Does toxic parenting equal dysfunctional adults?" Before I can continue, okay, because this is not just a conversation. This is a conversation, okay. All right, so y'all gotta understand what we're doing. This is a conversation, and I also gotta bring her in. I gotta give her a solo layout. All right, so y'all can know what we're talking about. You know what I mean? And y'all know who it is already. She really doesn't need any introduction, but I'm gonna introduce her anyway. Then bring in QB. Hey, sister, what's going on?
Hey, how y'all doing? Sending y'all a little southern love. Thank you so much for having me again. Sorry, y'all, we had to take a little bit of break. Just a little break. But we back up in this thing.
So yes, y'all. The title is "Does Toxic Parenting Equal Dysfunctional Adults?" You know what I mean?
Y'all, look.
So I'm gonna go on mute because I gotta run out real quick, but I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna let QB set the stage because she can only do that. And as I run out, I'm gonna put the link in the chat, y'all. I'm gonna put the link in the chat. I'm gonna pin it. Don't be shy. Come up. Okay. It may take me some time to let you on because I have to step away, but I will let you in. All right. So yeah, QB, go ahead, lead the way. I'm here.
Alrighty then. So, look, I was inspired to do this topic because I'm always just kind of nosily minding my business in the social media streets, and I see all these videos, and I see comments, I see clips, this, that, and whatever. And then there's YouTube videos, and there's Facebook, whatever. And then just from personal experience, personal conversations, it's like, oh, child, okay. We don't realize how much our childhood or the type of parents we had. And I'm going to give a disclaimer to that. The type of parents we had affect how we are as adults. Now, I want to say this as a disclaimer. Um, we don't get to choose our parents, for one. And our parents sometimes can only give us from the cup of what they had. Like, they can't give you no more or no less. Well, let me take that back. Sometimes your parents can give you more because they choose to. But there are some people, some parents, who are so messed up from their upbringing that they really don't have a lot to pull from because they don't have the energy, the strength, the wherewithal, or the desire to even do better or be better. So somehow they got pregnant. Well, not somehow, y'all know what I mean. They got pregnant, had a child, and boom, here we are. And you are just an unfortunate victim in this situation. Now, based on what you experienced when you were growing up, it does have an effect on you as an adult. Now, here's the thing: as time goes on, technology increases, access to knowledge, information increases. We can all choose to do better, be better. However, there are times when those scars and the scars of the wounds are so deep that it's hard to pull out. And it's hard to know what may really trigger you, what may cause you to just malfunction, so to speak. So we want to get into that. I want to welcome everybody that's in the chat. Thank you all. And look, please feel free to come up and join the conversation. You're always welcome to join the conversation. So without further ado, I'm going to just get into um, what is a toxic parent? What is toxic parenting? Some of us know what toxic people are. And here's the thing: we have the capability, or we are quicker to recognize toxic people in our lives, but we're not so quick to recognize when our parents were toxic. I don't know if it's this, we don't want to see it. We don't want to admit that our parents were like, wow, they were toxic, they were mean, they were nasty, they were whatever. It's almost like we paint our parents with a certain brush to cover up and say, oh, well, they're adults and we're children and they know better and we don't. And versus as we mature and get older in life, the people that are our peers, we're quick to point out their behaviors that are undesirable. But our parents, not so much. So let's talk about, what is a toxic parent? And, okay, some things may seem extreme, um, but some of them are very subtle. So you may have recognized some of this in your childhood. Now, not to say because your mom and daddy fussed at you and maybe spank your tail, that was toxic. It's about the intensity, the continuation, like how long did this behavior go on to the point of how much it affected you. And I hope I'm saying that right. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So what is a toxic parent? It's a parent really that puts their needs above their child. They try to make you feel like you are the blame for things that you have no control over. Um, it's almost like they didn't want children to begin with, but they weren't being safe in their sexual practices. So here you are. A toxic parent can be verbally, physically, emotionally abusive to their child. And I want to break each one of those down. A toxic parent, let's see, they often want to make you, they often want to play the victim. Sorry. And they want you to be the aggressor. They want to, again, they want to find a way to blame you for something that, again, has nothing to do with you. And then the more traits, as I mentioned earlier, that are tied into their behavior, the worse that person, that parent is. Okay, so let's look into, the traits. Self centered, again, putting their needs before yours. Um, that's a real big one. Um, they may choose to spend money on them and not you. They may choose to leave you unattended. They may choose to say, okay, I need to go out and party and kick it, and leave you at home, and leave you with the babysitter, leave you with somebody, and just not really care and be attentive to your needs. Um, they don't care what you're doing in school. They don't care what activities you want to get involved with. It's all about them. And they feel like because they had a child that stunted, that put a pause in whatever they were doing in their life at that moment, well, they feel like they need to go back and relive and revamp or whatever the case may be. So they push the child to the side and they focus on themselves. Physical abuse. We've all seen this. Now, physical abuse goes beyond just the spanking, and of course, spankings are questionable among different parent groups. Some people say spanking is necessary. Some people say you don't have to put your hand on your child to discipline them. There's a whole lot of discussion, and every parent knows their child. Every parent knows what works when it concerns discipline for their child. But the physical abuse comes in to when now you're causing harm that needs medical attention. You're leaving bruises and bumps and cuts and scrapes, broken limbs, you know, things you can't really explain, or you try to, oh, they ran into a table, they ran into the wall, they fell down the stairs, so things of that nature are considered physical abuse. And they leave just as much of a lasting impression on the child as the other types of abuse, which leads to verbal abuse. That's, again, it goes beyond just the yelling and the screaming. Um, well, screaming can be included, but it's the words that they say. Um, it's like they want to tear you down with their words, and yeah, the nastiest they could be, the the meanest they could be. It's like that's what they're going for. However, they can make you feel your lowest, and that's not about making them feel good. It's just about that's the form of discipline they choose. That's the form of abuse because they don't want to put their hands on you because they don't want to have to try to explain odd marks. So they're going to just talk as nasty and dirty and harsh to you as possible to really break down your spirit and who you are. So that's verbal abuse. Um, Name calling, blaming, again goes back to the blaming part. Emotional abuse. This is when it says it's stonewalling your child if they've done something wrong. In other words, giving them the silent treatment. So emotional abuse is just neglecting the child altogether. That child could have had a really great day at school. They come home, mom, dad, look what I did. You know, this and that, what happened? And the parents are like, yeah, they brush them off. Like, I don't really care. You know, the child is doing well in a sport or they've joined a club and they want to share, and their parents are like, no. And it has nothing to do with the child. It's all that person and what they're dealing with, that parent rather, and what they're dealing with. And they're just flipping the script and putting that energy outward and putting on their child. Uh, Not fair at all. Not fair. Anyone would like to join the conversation, please do. I would love to hear other people's shared experiences or observations because I know talking about personal experiences can be hard. It can be emotional and it could be a trigger for something you thought you dealt with. And I want to share something that I saw on TikTok. A lady shared a story. Okay. Another trait is blaming the child. We talked about blaming. All this goes back to verbal abuse, which could lead to physical abuse, which could also tie into emotional abuse. So, all of this stuff. And then it also can tie into the self centered behavior. That parent blames the child for being there. Say, or if a relationship goes wrong, a marriage breaks up, look what you did. You're the cause of this. Well, no, mommy dearest or daddy dearest, you should have put a condom on. I mean, I hate to be like that, but you should have been more safer in your sexual practices, sexual activity. So it's not the child's fault for being here. It's your fault for not being practicing safer sex. And now you have a child that you don't really want, definitely don't need in your life. And now that child has to suffer for your mistakes, your bad choices. So blaming the child when something goes wrong and it's simply not their fault. Manipulation. We all know what manipulation looks like. Somebody plays on your niceness to get what they want. Someone tries to guilt trip you. Yeah. So the same goes for adults with their with their children. Just like we know other adults in our lives, other people in our associate, I'm gonna say friend circle, our associate circle, who try to manipulate us. Same thing with parents and their children. And again, I know this sounds very harsh and extreme, but there have been parents that have done okay. Prime example, there was a movie that was made. It's on Hulu and it's called I want to say Run. I'll find the exact movie. For those of you who may have seen it, it was this woman. She had a child, and I'm sorry if I'm giving spoilers here to the movie. She had a child, but her child died at birth. So while walking through the nursery, she saw another child that was just born, and she, in her mind, wanted a child so bad she stole someone else's. Well, in the course of raising this daughter, this young girl, she created some health conditions that were unnecessary just so this girl could need and depend on her. She had this mentality of, I need somebody to need me. But that was toxic parenting at its finest. She poisoned the girl with different drugs. And I say poison as in she gave her medications that she didn't need. They were more harmful. She partially paralyzed the girl. Now I think the child did have asthma, so she was dependent on an inhaler. But there were a variety of other things. I apologize. I apologize. Um, the girl had hopes of going to college. The mom would take the letters and hide them. So she actually got accepted into one college. But this lady was like, I don't want her to leave me. She's gonna leave me, I'm gonna be all alone. So again, she did everything in her power to make her feel like she wasn't smart enough. They weren't gonna accept some disabled child. So that all falls into manipulation, emotional abuse. And then there was some physical abuse. Um, the girl tried to get away. The mom, she it's like every time this girl tried to get away and almost had her way out, the mom was right there, you know. Anywho, so yes, that I'm gonna find the name. I want to say the movie's called Run, but let me find the exact name of the movie. And then lastly, inability to respect boundaries. Okay, so your parents, they decide, especially they were young parents, they decide I want to be more of a friend than a parent. They just want to invade your space and be, not respect that parent child boundary line. They just want to like tell you everything, talk to you about too much that should not be talked about, share too much, just hang out with you, things of that nature. And so, yes, all of these traits lend themselves to a toxic parent. And again, oftentimes we don't know that we have a toxic parent. I want to give a shout out to Knowledge and Relationships. Thank you. Yes, please, everybody, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. Help us get more traffic on this channel for this show. Alrighty. So let's talk about the effects, the long term effects. I watched a video on Snapchat, and this lady was talking about how awful her dad was, and um, her mom. Um, well, then her dad eventually remarried. The mom moved on. The dad was very abusive, physically abusive, but he treated the step kids like golden children. And so she couldn't wait to get away. Oh, that's another thing. When we have toxic parents, depending on what age you are, you can't get away. You're stuck in that, situation. And so that's just one of the effects. So this lady was talking about she couldn't wait to get away. Okay, so she got away, she grew up, she eventually got a relationship, had a child. Well, she thought, okay, maybe that would soften things or make the relationship better. And this is a real story.
Mm.
And so,
This one of them Lifetime movies?
no, this is on TikTok.
Oh,
Um,
dang.
and so she said when she had her child, her stepsister had to do her one up and have a child as well. Well, the dad treated the stepchildren who actually he had no blood relation to the step grandchild, treated them better than his own grandchild. And so this woman was like, she didn't realize that was a trigger for her. All this time she sought her dad's approval, sought his love, his attention, his affection, and he never gave it to her. He was just toxic and abusive. And it took her till I don't know what age she is now, over 30. She's like, I'm still not over or haven't dealt with what I thought I dealt with. She basically just suppressed it. And we go through life like that. So I know I've been doing all this talking, Mr. Best. So I would love for you to jump in and share maybe some, not your experience, but things you've observed, or conversations you've had with people concerning parenting, their experience with their parents, or, you know, and toxic parenting in particular. And then what are they like as adults, based on what they went through?
I mean, the thing is that, when you have toxic parenting, it's going to affect, a lot of different things that are going on. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times parents at times don't want to take responsibility for that sometimes.
Hmm.
Sometimes they may try to, they may try to dodge it, or they may try to blame others, or they may try to say, "Oh, well, you don't know what's going on back then." And it's like, okay, I mean, I may not know what's going on back then. That may be absolutely correct. There may be different traumas that that parent may have had that they have now inflicted on that child. So I'm not taking that away. You know what I'm saying? And that the only thing I'm saying is that you have to also address the trauma that you have now bestowed upon your child. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And if you do not do that, then you won't have a functional relationship. You know what I'm saying? Yes, give the child understanding, give them perception of what you've been through, but also let them know, you know what I'm saying, okay, I acknowledge how you feel as well. You know what I mean? Because if you don't do that, then the child is just going to think you don't care about them, and that's really a, that's really going to just mess up the relationship. Honestly, I want to give a quick shout out to people in the comment section.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I see Non's relationships here, Mr. M3. Hit the like, sub, and subscribe. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Appreciate you. You're always in the money. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate you. Thank you, bro. Thank you. Also, salute to K Marion. You know what I mean? The topic worth sharing. You know what I mean? Sharing this moment, just stop to say hello around 12 minutes. Okay, this time may be helpful to many families, or for many families. Share and smash that like button. Most definitely. And
Thank
Frida
you.
Warren says, great topic. Thank you. Thank you, Frida. Shout out to you as
Hey,
well.
Auntie. That's my auntie in
Mhm.
California.
Hey, Auntie Frida, good to see you. You know what I mean? This one's for K Marion, one for Auntie Frida. Most definitely.
Thank you so
They are
much
in the money.
for checking in. And
Yes, yes.
so, oftentimes, the toxic behaviors can be subtle. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they're right in your face, like bam. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why, as adults, we don't realize why we act the way we do sometimes, because the toxic parenting was kind of subtle, or we brushed it off. We made excuses for our parents when it just simply wasn't right. Now, we know there's no handbook to raising a child. We know there's no handbook to being a parent.
Mm-hmm.
However, you can choose to show love and compassion, you know, to the best of your ability without abusing your child. Sadly, some animals get treated better than human beings. Um, and it should not be that way. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an animal lover, but at the same time, you should not treat your animals better than you treat your children. Moving
Mm-hmm.
on. So, I talked about feeling trapped because you're young. You can't leave because you don't have no money to take care of yourself. Now, you can try to run away, but then where is that going to lead you to? Children's homes, possibly getting in trouble, sleeping on the streets. It's going to lead to a variety of things if you don't have somebody willing to take you in. And oftentimes, children are not believed when they start talking about their abuse, which is a sad part. Hey, Queen,
What's up, peoples?
what is up?
Well, I don't appreciate you ignoring me today, Sister Soldier.
Look, your girl need a
I'm
nap.
just messing with you. I'm just messing with you.
So I want to thank you for joining this chat because I feel like, okay, I feel like a lecturer sitting here just talking to myself. But you work in an industry where I'm
Yes,
sure you
ma'am.
see all of this stuff. So just to,
Mm,
I don't know how much you caught of the beginning, but just to recap, we're talking, of course, we're talking about toxic parenting and the effects it
mm,
has on children and then on them as they become adults. And I talked about the traits of toxic parenting, which is
mm,
self centered behavior, physical, verbal, emotional abuse, blaming the
mm-hmm.
child, manipulation, and not respecting boundaries. And so I want you to share from your professional experience, what you have witnessed, how this affects children, and then, how you have to try to help them out with their behaviors and things.
Um, it's well, one, I do believe that some people it is a down the hill syndrome, meaning
Okay.
that it's generational.
Okay.
So when you come from toxicity, 9 times out of 10, you're going to become that toxicity unless you get the help and do the work to not become that.
Okay.
Um, Behaviors are learned and very hard to break.
Yes, ma'am.
Um, bad habits, so when you learn that, and that's all you know, that's all you are until you kind of snap out of it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I think the toxicity of parents leave kids, if it leads them with an unhealthy view of what love is,
Mm.
what affection is. They can develop, what do you call it, attachment disorders,
Mm.
where they don't know how to connect or let people in, and or they can still, some kids still, like, they can still be loving and sweet despite sometimes the environment they grow up in. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very, it's kind of odd how, despite the abuse, they understand what that meant, and they fight hard not to do it to someone else, if that makes sense. So
And when you
yeah.
say fight
Thank
hard,
you. Thank you for sharing that, Queen. Hold on one second. I got to get
okay,
to the comment
okay.
real quick. Got to give a shout out to Wally, also known as Wealth Talk Productions. What's up? He said, salute the intellectual soapbox. Salute to you, brother. And he also says, panel and chat, good day to you. Good day to you as well, brother. Thank you
Hi,
for being here.
Wally.
And you are definitely in the money for being here. Let me give you the little money sign real quick. Thank you for being here, brother. We appreciate you.
And look, we would
Yep.
love to have more people in the chat, on the panel, especially some guys. We often hear women being more open and honest and talking about their feelings, but men have feelings and issues that they've dealt with, and this is a safe space, y'all. I'm going to say that over and over and over again. You're welcome to share, and you don't have to share all of your personal business. Just share what you feel will help someone else. Um, but if you need to release, this is your time and space also. Because
I
again, we
sing
want people.
Frozen up in a minute.
What'd
I'm
you
gonna
say?
sing Frozen in a minute.
Oh goodness. Oh goodness. Look, we want you to feel like this is a safe haven and you can share whatever without being judged. This is a judgment-free zone. And again, you never know who's listening to your story, who may
Mhm.
can benefit from what you have to say. They could be going through something similar of going through and just didn't have the courage to speak up and speak out about it. So, anywho, just put that
Right.
disclaimer out there.
Speak up, speak out.
So go ahead, Miss Queen.
Oh no, I was just saying that, I think I mean to I remember, um like, you hear of stories, you see it on the news, like, um parents never want to own their responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying you can control how your kid turns out, um but I think my parents believed in putting the holy fear of Jesus in us. And it worked with me, man. I stayed away from everything.
Well,
I I I used to think I'm gonna be a statistic of everything. So let me just stay away from everything. I don't want to be a statistic or the poster child for that. Um,
well, let me
but
ask you this:
what's
Do
up?
you feel though, in some cases, because there are some families, like I went to high school with a girl, and her parents were Kojic, and when I say strict, she couldn't even look sideways. And it's like even at
Mm-mm,
school, she felt like her dad was always watching over her shoulder at all times. She
mm-mm.
made sure her skirts were a certain length. She didn't wear makeup. She couldn't say this, do that, hang out, blah. So it's like, do you feel that if religious beliefs are taken to an extreme, that could be a form of toxicity?
Yeah, I do believe, because then it's you're doing it for them. So okay, I'm gonna give you an example. Okay, cool. So I have older sisters, right? Three older sisters
Okay.
and an older brother, right? So I learned a lot from them. So, they may not have said much, but when I saw stuff hit the fan, I was like, oh hell no, I'm never doing that.
Okay.
I'm never doing. I tell them to this day, you guys were my greatest examples of what
Hmm.
what to do and what not to do, honestly. Um,
Okay.
they thought I didn't listen, but I paid attention. Um, so my parents, because I was a little rambunctious, a little aggressive, so they didn't let me they I couldn't go to the club by myself. I had to go
Okay.
with my older sisters, right?
Okay.
So when I turned 16, I went to an 18 or over club. They didn't serve any alcohol or anything in there. And I had to go with my older sisters.
Okay.
Um, so when we came back, the next day my parents did a behavior check. How was she? Was she cool? Did
Wow.
she get out of line? They was like, yeah, we would take her again,
Okay.
because I was like so shocked. I was with the big kids, and I was like, it felt like a kid in a candy store. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is what the afterlife looks like, the after hours party, and I was like so amazed, right? So then
Okay.
I went. The next big step was they let me go on a school night. They was like, but you better be up for school, right? So
Okay.
so all my coworkers, I mean my classmates was like, hold on. My classmates was like, you ain't going to the club. And I said, yes, I am. I'm gonna bring back the wristband. So I brought back the wristband. They was like, whoa, that's so cool. So I was like the big girl on campus for a while. Um, so with I had a friend whose family was very strict. Didn't let her go nowhere, made her study all the time. She was so smart. She almost, like, emotionally she wasn't ready to skip, but she could have skipped like three grades.
Oh my
That's how
God.
smart she was. To the
Wow.
point where, like, they had no life. Like, they was always being tutored with something. So she went away to college. I went to visit her in the college. This girl was buck wild. Like, I'm talking drunk, one night stands. I was like, who the
Wow.
heck are you? Like, it was crazy. It scared me. And I was just like, and I realized this, a lot of it was her parents tried so hard to protect her. They sent her away to school, and she just went like ballistic.
Yeah.
And I was like, like, you can't do that. Like, my family, they protected me, but they also taught me street smarts. Like,
Okay.
okay, you go into a party, never leave anything, your cup unattended.
Yeah.
Never do this. Never get in a car with strangers. Although I didn't listen to that, but you know, some of the stuff I did, I'm like, I don't know how I survived that, but that's another day, another story.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think even in protection, you know, your toxicity can become overbearing, where it's almost like you're trying to live through your kids
Hmm.
and live your life through them,
Yeah.
versus allowing them to make the choices or make the decision for themselves. Like, I do feel like my family, we weren't perfect by all means, but the one thing I can say about my parents is that they gave us a great childhood, meaning that they allowed, especially me, I think they were just tired by the time they got to me, because I was off the hook, and they just was like, just leave her
Okay.
alone, she'll figure it out. Like, don't even blink, please don't hurt her, please don't touch her, just leave that little one. I don't know what we're gonna do with her. And they say, I don't know where she came from, like, but I was just really off the hook. But they allowed us the space to be kids. You know what I mean?
Okay.
To make our mistakes, to, you know, yeah, I do believe that my family knew all the dirt I did. I felt like I was getting away with something. I really don't believe I was getting away with anything, you know.
Oh wow.
So yeah, but they gave us the space to talk about what was going on. Like it wasn't like, oh, you shut up. This my house. I mean, they did say that, but they did allow you to talk and express how you felt.
And my
Yeah.
household was different, totally different. And so I
Oh,
stayed in a
hold on,
corner.
family. Hold on 1 second. Hold on, everybody. I'm so sorry. Got to give a shout out real quick to Daryl Long. What's going on, bro? He said, salute, family. Salute to you. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for being here, brother. And you are definitely in the money, as always. Thanks for coming through, brother. We appreciate you.
Thank you all for checking.
I didn't get no introduction. Where my dollar sign at? Wh- Thank you. Oh yeah, you bet you thank you. You better. Cause you know I make it rain. Don't play with me.
You know, I will close the door on you.
This QB house, you can't close the door. She gonna let me in.
Indeed.
That's right.
Oh goodness. But I do want to address the part about living in different households. Yes, how they can affect you different ways, and then affect you as you become an adult. And so I want to address the part about becoming dysfunctional adults, because we see people who they just have bad attitudes. you know, they are they're quick. They're mainly the people that say, "Well, this is just how I am." But is it really? Is it really just how you are? Or are you choosing that as an excuse not to try to be a better, different version of yourself? And I know better looks different for everybody else. So I can't say what a better version of you is from my perspective. However, I feel like there's a better version of us within us if we choose to show that and be that. We don't have to be loud and obnoxious all the time. It's one thing to speak up for yourself. It's one thing to stand up for yourself, but it's another thing just to be total. I don't want to say this word, jackass. Just I'm gonna say it. A total jackass, jerk, booty hole, whatever. There's a fine line there. We just have to choose which way we lean in. Anywho, so I want to talk about how all of this toxic parenting affects her future relationships, which causes this dysfunctional adult. And when I say relationships, I mean your work relationships, your friendships, any type of relationship you engage in with another person, whether it's intimate or professional. Um, I know you've heard this a lot, Queen, in your field of work about the formative years, children in their formative years, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's like, and then core I've been hearing a lot about core memories. And so those formative years are up until about, well, some experts say up to about age 6. So by age 6, you've kind of had this experience. You've had enough experiences that lend to your awareness of yourself and the surroundings. Of course, you're always maturing as you get older, but by age 6, it's like you're not a baby, you're not a toddler,
Mm.
and you're kind of like your brain is able to, I guess you said, compartmentalize and process at a different rate. And you're able to like make sense of things by the age of 6 or 7 or so. Um, and unfortunately, your parents are supposed to be your introduction to the world. They're supposed to be the
Mm.
ones that help socialize you. And if they're
Man.
toxic, then it's like, what are you taking in and what are you learning? And what
What
are
if,
you?
what if they? Oh, I'm sorry, Keith, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
But what if that parent is still a child themselves, or had you as a child, which is the case with me. My mom was a teen mom. So what in that case when they're still trying to mature, or they're just coming into adulthood? Like how should they approach it then?
At that point, and see, I talked about this a little earlier about This goes back to one of the traits of how parents are, some toxic parents are self centered. They blame the child, they use manipulation tactics, all because they feel like that child is somehow in the way, the cause of their current life status, whatever it may be. Um, I know it's easier said than done to say, okay, well, they need to reach out to a source of help, a mentor, or some kind of guide. Find someone who can
Mm-hmm.
guide them through this whole parenting thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
easier said than done. The parent has to want to do better and be better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the child is just an unfortunate victim of their parents and their behavior. I can't speak for your
So,
mom.
mm, okay, so okay. No, I still want you to build. I just want to shout out to people real quick, and I want you to build, and I have a question.
Okay.
Because I love what you're saying. Because I know that you are a parent. You've raised. I don't know how many kids you have. I know you have one kid for
Uh
sure.
huh.
I know that you mentioned that, and so I would love just to know your perspective and just how you handle everything. And just like where you took things at. But
Okay.
I have to give a shout out, and I just was talking to this awesome sister. Raven spills the tea. Good to see you, sister. It's an interesting
Hi.
topic. Yes, it's very interesting. We're gonna dig up and we're gonna really deal with some things. Listen, the rest of the world, you got some questions. I definitely do. So thanks for being here. You definitely in the money for being here. We appreciate you. You know what I mean? Definitely give a shout out to also Mr. Glucose. Good to see you. He was definitely, dropping some great insight on our relationships last night. Please go check the replays over there that we had last night on our show. He said stopping by showing support. You know what I mean? Thank you,
Well,
thank you.
thank
You know
you.
what I mean? You definitely in the money for being here. Appreciate you, brother. You know what I mean? And non relationships again says salute everyone, salute to you, bro. I give you another in the money for you. You know what I'm saying? Thank you. But
I
yeah,
want
QB,
to.
continue to build because I have a question.
Well, first, I
Stop
want to
giving
ask
them my
Mister.
dollar signs.
I want to ask Mister Glucose what the meaning behind the name is. Like Mister Sugar Daddy or something like. Okay, but anyway, moving
No,
on.
no, no. That has a real meaning. It has a real, he shared his story yesterday, and it has a very, very impactful meaning. Like,
Okay, so
you
it's
know
a
what I mean?
real. It's.
So
I'm sorry, I'm not
yeah.
trying to make light of it, but I'm just
No, 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 no. Hey, nowadays you never know.
like, look.
I didn't hear him share what it is.
You wasn't paying attention, Queen. As usual, you was sleeping. You know
Oh,
what I
you're
mean?
right.
Wake up, all right?
I do be pulling, because never mind. That's another day. Boring people. They be putting me to sleep.
Oh Lord. Okay.
You're wrong. You're wrong. Let me give you another buzzer for that one. Nobody was boring. You just ain't pay attention. It was a great story.
No, I didn't say him. I said some people.
Okay.
Yes, she was asleep again. Yes, M3. And Raven Spills C says, hi all. Hey family, good to see you. Good
Hi.
to see you. Much love.
All right. So, Mr. Best, you were asking me about how I was
No, I
as a
was gonna
parent.
ask you something, but it was kind of in relation to that, but you was actually still talking, and I was shouting people
Oh.
out. So go ahead.
Oh no. I just said I can't speak on your mom.
Uh huh.
You seem to have turned out great. Even though
I'm
you
alright.
made a post about somebody called you obnoxious one
Oh,
day.
that's a whole story there. Oh my gosh, and it was an older person too, of course.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, younger people don't play with me because they know what it is, but you know what I mean. They know
Okay.
they know the threat of violence is pretty real, whether it's verbal violence or whatever. It's very real when it comes to somebody my age or close to my age. But older people try me, man. For some reason, they like to try me and say different things because I guess they know I can't do anything or say anything to them based on that. So they will say little things. But yeah, if this is a younger person, we would have some words. I mean, I
Wow.
would have asked them who the f they think they are and who can they tell me to be as a man, and yeah, it would have been a whole different topic. As you've seen in our relationships, people have kind of questioned my manhood, and it's going left because I don't. That's the one thing I don't tolerate is
Your
somebody questioning
manhood?
my manhood. Yeah, don't question my
Yeah.
manhood. Don't
Oh,
question my
Ain't
manhood.
okay.
nobody, ain't nobody questioning your manhood.
That's how I take it though, as a man.
Well, no, they're questioning themselves by projecting that onto you. So what you gotta do is just step to the side and let that shit pass, because
Hmm.
people project a lot of stuff on these YouTube streets, and if they see you in person, they wouldn't have nothing but hello, how are you? May I get
Hmm.
that for you, sir? May I get that for you, ma'am? That's a how you do? Thank you for coming. You know, and you hand them a tip. That's the only thing they be doing is waiting on you. That's it. So go sit down, have a seat.
Oh goodness. But Mr. Best, you were asking me about. So I was a young
He
parent.
says,
I
I
was
can.
19 when I got pregnant, and 20
Hmm.
when I actually gave birth. But um,
So you were still,
I,
so you were still, so you still coming into adulthood, if not actually really, in some retrospect, in my eyes, right? Just
yeah,
being a 19-year-old and knowing how that was, right? Knowing, because I
yes,
remember that very clearly, and knowing the process of that, and knowing what I was going through. You were still a child.
yes, and I was dealing with also what I didn't know at the time was some toxic behaviors from my. And I'm not trying to put my family down. So let me say this: my family raised me the best they could, and
Hmm.
I don't want to get into too much detail um, because I have sets of family,
Hmm.
mom's side, dad's side, all this kind of
Hmm.
stuff. So my family raised me the best they could. However, because of who I was and my personality, I don't feel like I got what I needed to help me become a highly emotionally functioning adult until later in life. my dad my dad and I have had this discussion. He's gone now, but
Mm.
I feel like he was a dictator. And he and I have written letters back and forth talking about our relationship. So this is nothing really new. Um, so he was a dictator. Do as I say, not as I do. And so
Hmm.
for me, it was, I don't want to be what my parents were. My mom was great. While I didn't live with her full time, my mom still showed me love and affection and attention. She
Hmm.
showed me what I needed. She gave me to the best of her ability based on what she had, knowledge wise. But she never fell short of showing me love and attention, during the times we did get to see each other, summers and Christmas. So, anyway, I just made up my mind what type of parent I wanted to be. While I wasn't ready for parenthood, I
Hmm.
still had to make up my mind real quick. Now, did I spank my child? You bet I did. Did I yell at him? Yes, I did. Because I know my child. Talking to him, don't do that. Now, what do we say? How do we use our word? My child would have been like, girl, bye. So I had to get a little stern with him. But I wasn't
Mm.
ever abusive. Now, there was one time I went ham because I had bought him this little Game Boy thing, these little square flip up Game Boy things that came out, and
Hmm.
he let somebody use it, and they of course they never gave it back, and we're
Oh.
finna go on this trip, but I'm like, go find your little toy, you go find your game, and he kept saying, I don't want to take it. I'm like, this is gonna be a long trip. You need something to do in the car. So he's in his room looking for something he knows not in there. So yeah, that sent me over the top because I spent my hard earned money. I'm working low wage jobs, barely taking care of things, and I bought you some. Anyway, so yeah. So I went ham that day, but he didn't have to go to the hospital.
Oh
and
wow.
and not trying to laugh it off, but I yeah, I was a little more angry at him at that time.
So with that being said, do y'all have a good relationship?
Now we do. When he was a teenager, between the age of 14 and 17, I don't know if we were. I didn't think we was gonna make it, like because he was coming
Mm.
to this phase of I'm my own person. I shouldn't have to really listen to you. I want to do what I want to do. I want to hang out. I want to do this. I'm like, I'm still a parent. You're going to school. So it was this tug of war with I'm
Mm.
the parent, you're the child, versus what he wanted to do versus what I wanted him to do. So it was
Mm.
like one of us ain't gonna make it out alive, and
Uh,
we just not.
wow, you kept it G. I like that.
Yeah. We had some up and down and left and right, and oh, child, yeah, those teenage
Mm.
years were hard,
Sound
very
like they
hard.
were. Sound like they were.
um, yes,
You okay?
yeah, I'm sorry, y'all.
It's all good. It's all good.
But again, to go back around to your question, I chose what kind of parent I wanted to be and what I didn't want to be, but
Hmm.
that was for me. Now,
Mm.
my childhood, yes, has affected me to the point of I didn't feel a strong connection with my child.
Mm-hmm.
There was still a little distance. And then when I got married, there was some distance. Like I felt like I didn't know what love was. Like I feel like the only time I was ever really in love was
Mm-hmm.
with this guy that I met online. That we eventually developed a relationship, if you want to call it that. Um, like we never got to see each other in person, but we video chat, text message, email, whatever. Send pictures back and forth. We just never saw each other in person. Never had sex. But that was one of the only people that I felt like I was ever in love with and that truly loved me. And so sadly, love is just one of those things that I feel like I haven't truly experienced. Yeah. And so I don't know how to have a face to face in person relationship successfully. Friendships, yeah. But intimate, no, no. Um, and also my dealings with my dad affected my relationships with my male supervisors. I didn't take too well to male supervisors who came off as authoritative. Yeah. So that's my stories, y'all. My truth. Have your way with it, Mr. Beth. Okay. Nobody wants to talk. So what everybody's saying in the comments section. Um, want to give a shout out to him versus her solutions. Hello, everyone. Hello to you too. All right, Queen, are you still here? Okay, did everybody leave me? Okay, well, I'm just gonna go into a little bit more about how toxic parents.
One moment. I
Um,
just want to shout out one person. Okay, he
yes.
just checked in. Him versus her solutions, aka AR. AR, good to see you, brother. And yes, thank you for being here. You definitely in the money by being here. My soundboard's acting a little weird, but there it goes. You know what I mean, thank you for being here. And anybody who's here, please feel free to join the conversation or the conversation, as we like to call it. But okay, before because I know you want to move to a different point. My thing is this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so at the end of the day, right? You said that you were trying to balance, and I think this is what it is, right? As a parent, you're trying to balance your love life, but also you're trying to balance being a parent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're trying to basically have your own identity, your own career, your own everything, right?
Yeah.
Because now you're living your life. You're no longer under your parents, right? You're trying to form your own thing. So that's a lot to do once you're basically having a child, respectively as a child, right? Or just now becoming
Yeah.
an adult, and now you're trying to figure everything out. You know what I mean?
And
So with that
yes.
with that with that being said, right? And you was telling a story about how you felt like you were in love with this one person, right? Do you feel like that was more? Because to me, like it sounds like it was more of a emotional connection,
It
right? Because
was.
you never met them, right? So
Yeah.
you fell in love with their words or and their perception of who they said it was going to be. And I think a lot
Yeah.
of times, when it comes to the online thing, you know what I mean, we got to be careful. You know what I'm saying? We got to be very careful. Okay. My whole thing is, I tell anybody, if you meet somebody online and some people agree with me or they don't agree with me, most I'll say 99% of guys you meet online, they're not trying to be in a relationship with you. They're just not. You know, I ain't trying to be mean to the guys that are. And the guys that are trying to do that, there's only certain websites for that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I guess like the Christian ones or I guess Match.com to a certain extent. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, if you go on these other jokers, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? This is all about getting it in, having a good time, having a summer fling. Like that's all people are thinking about, having a winter fling, or And I'm telling you this because I know a lot of people that's in my family, who are single, or a lot of my friends that are single. 'Cause I have a really big family and a large circle of male friends as well. This is how they talk. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, man, this is what we doing. And so they, in their minds, when they get on there, they're just on there for one thing. They're not on there to trying to build connections. You know what I'm saying? They're not on there trying to do anything. They're just on there just trying to to try to get some. You know what I mean? So I think with the ladies, like, y'all have to really stop putting so much of who y'all are on those sites, because the guys they're not for that. You know what I'm saying? I would say honestly, try to meet somebody, within a social construct of things that you like to do, right? Because I don't want to take too much away from the subject, because I know we got to move on.
That's
But try to
fine.
meet somebody in a social construct that you like to do, whether it's a library, grocery store, if you got a favorite movie theater you like to go to, try to meet somebody there. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, you know what I mean? A park, anywhere. You know what I mean? Or if you're a part of a church community, even better. You know what I mean? Because at least y'all can kind of have something that you already share that's in common. Y'all kind of have the same value and belief system, right? But when you go online, ooh, you leave yourself open to anybody.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And the freaks come out on the internet.
Oh Lord.
You know what I mean? They come out on the internet. So, be careful. I don't care how suave he is, what he says or whatever. Remember, these are just words. You haven't met this person. Stranger. Not, I'm not saying stranger danger, but what I'm saying is
Yeah,
just
stranger
under just
danger.
no, no, not stranger danger, but just understand the environment. Understand the environment, and then also for the fellas, I would say the women that's on there, understand that a lot of them, they're not going to be like QB. They're not going to be actually looking for a connection. They're going to be looking for your money.
Yeah.
Okay, she's going to be looking for that wallet. Okay, and if you're not careful, you know what I mean? She gonna be spending that wallet, and you ain't gonna be having nothing to look back on. There ain't gonna be no relationship. She's not gonna do anything for you in the bedroom. Nothing's gonna happen. Okay? She might have coffee with you. Hashtag coffee dates, but that's another story. But go ahead, QB.
Well, I want to give a little more background, because this was some time ago, a
Mm-hmm.
long time ago, and I was
Mm-hmm.
actually married. He was married, and so
Mm-hmm.
we met on this particular site that wasn't even about chatting. It was for music sharing. That was the initial,
Oh.
um, that was the initial setup of the site, and so they later added chat rooms and this and that, whatever. So we met in this
Uh-huh.
particular chat room. We connected, yes, through just text messaging. Like we it did share pictures of each other, like headshot. Like this is what I
Uh-huh.
look like. And so because of our connection, and again, yes, it goes back to it was more of an emotional, needy connection versus I was in a place in a bubble where I felt like I was in love. But again, I guess it goes back to what I wasn't getting where I was, and so I
Uh-huh.
attached myself to this thing that looked and felt good. So
Uh-huh.
we got off the app, we exchanged, phone numbers, emails, and all that, and so we had another app that we would chat through. We would do video chat. He would be at work because again he was married, so he would have to wait till he gets to work to contact me. At the time, I wasn't working outside the house, so it was perfect. And so we could talk anytime that he was available. That was the other downside. I had to deal with when he was available. Okay, so but again, it worked for me because my husband was a truck driver. He was gone a lot, but when he was home, we just knew, okay, we're with our spouses. Boom, shut it down. Okay, this went on for like 7 years, and it
Uh-huh.
eventually got steamy, just not physical, because he
Uh-huh.
lived in another whole other state. And
Uh-huh.
so we just never made that connection. And so again, I think because of how
If I may ask, what was the outcome of that situation? If you want to share, you don't have to share the outcome if you don't
well,
want to.
we eventually got to a point like, okay, we're trying to get deeper in our faith and our religious practices.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to really just shut this down. It got to a point, it just ran its course. Unfortunately, before we could shut it down, his wife found out. And yeah, so that's how it ended. um, yeah. So I had to end up unfollowing and blocking, and because she kept harassing me, which I mean I understand. She was in her feelings, um, as she should rightly be. But yeah, eventually we just cut. That's what led to our demise. We couldn't end it on our terms. It just yeah. I think that part hurt the most, that we couldn't end it on our terms versus the way it did, but it was coming to an end anyway. Um, but I just want to say that how And I'm not gonna say my family was one, just totally toxic. Again, toxic behaviors can be very subtle and happen over time. So it's not always just gonna be something right in your face, that's like, boom, here I am, toxic behavior. It can be very subtle, very passive. And you don't realize it until you become an adult and like, dang, why am I gravitating toward this? Why am I rejecting that? Why am I acting this way or the other? Yeah, because of the toxicity you were exposed to. I mean, think about when people live in areas where toxic waste is dumped in their water systems and all that. There's signs of cancer and whatever health condition don't show up, overnight. It takes time for them to show up. So just like toxic behaviors don't show up in you until over time. So yeah. Any more? I'm sorry. You have any more questions or things you want to add, a queen?
Get out of her business.
Huh?
What? No, she made that point. So
I'm just
I was
messing with
connecting the
you.
dots between what was
Ooh,
going on.
QB was a home wrecker. Ooh, ooh. No,
Don't
It
do
just
wasn't.
that.
It
Don't do
wasn't
messing.
that.
my intentions. I promise.
No,
And this
I get it. I get it. Stuff
and this
happens, you know.
and this is not an excuse. And of course I only know what he told me and shared with me.
Mm,
Um, she had some indiscretions as well, but what led to, I guess, the dysfunction in their marriage was that he had a child out of his
Oh wow.
discretion, and so
Oh wow.
that caused her to be more watchdog like,
I'll
from
cause
that point
anybody to do
on.
that.
And so yeah, so she's not very technical savvy, but she has friends
Hmm.
that are. And so eventually she found the stuff that we thought were hidden, or he thought was hidden, and boom. Okay. But I share that because there could be someone else who has formed an unhealthy attachment and they don't
mm-hmm.
understand why. Why do I have this
Mm,
unhealthy attachment or this unrealistic attachment to a person, place, or thing? Because somewhere along the line, some toxicity has infiltrated
Uh huh.
your emotional being, your
Mm.
entered you. Again,
Hmm.
it can be passive and very subtle, and the results
Mm.
should show up over time.
So
Yeah.
do you feel like parents pass those toxic things down to the children,
Mm,
right?
yes.
They've never really had any stable relationship. They don't know how to build a stable relationship. So now they bring a child in this world, and now this child is expected to just pop out and just automatically be this miraculous being to just have great relationships and just have all this knowledge and wisdom and insight on love and understanding. But 9 times out of 10, damn near 10 times out of 10, that child is going to have some lingering effects or lingering trauma based on the things and the actions based on that of that parent. And I can speak to that because that has been somewhat of my experience, especially with my dad and my mom being so young of having me
Okay.
as a child, and then my dad actually not being there as a parent, at
Uh-huh.
all. So, I think, the thing is that the fact of the matter is, because of all the unhealthy choices, that they both have made. My mom did the best she could, but she was a teen mom, so she made a lot of mistakes. And my dad just was absentee. So, I think because of all the bad decision making, I had to kind of have a understanding of who I was and
Mm,
what I wanted to be. You know what I'm saying? Because I thought to have a functional marriage, the only marriage that I kind of could look to really was, and I'm about to get to your question, is my grandparents, right? Because that
mm,
was kind of the household that I predominantly grew up in, kind of
okay.
on and off. There was 7 years I spent out of that household. My mom was married to another gentleman, and yeah, that's the only kind of marriage I knew. And what I seen from them is it was just atypical to me, right? It was she stayed home, cooked, clean, and he went to work and provided. So I thought in order to be a man, you just had to work and provide. That's it. You know what I
Okay.
mean? I ain't know nothing about no sharing no emotions and none of that. That wasn't what we did. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was do your task, shovel your snow, wash your dishes, clean your house, vacuum, do this, do that. You know what I mean? Work. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? If you want something, you work. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You want to use the phone, get your own phone. You know what I'm saying? I mean this is what I'm being told. So when you
Wow.
create when you're creating this type of environment, you're gonna create a monster. Like that's just what it's gonna be. And that's kind of what I had to
Okay.
become because I had to survive, right? I'm not gonna
Okay.
starve, right? So I think when we put these type of weight on the kids' shoulders, right? And now they become an adult, what are they supposed to do? So you know what I mean? So either the kid is going to hit the block, right?
Uh,
Or he's gonna be super athletic or he's gonna be super talented, which is super rare, right? There's only 400 people that make it in the NBA.
mm-hmm.
Or somehow he finds a career field and becomes successful, which is also a rare thing. You know what I'm saying? Or he just ends up as a statistic, which is a way much higher. You know what I mean? So we just gotta be real. You know what I mean? When the parents don't do what they have to do and they don't teach the kids certain things are just gonna happen.
Yeah.
Kids are gonna just have certain behaviors and patterns. You know what I mean? So I wanna give it okay, so hold on. So I'm gonna get to AR's question, right?
Okay.
QB, what do you think he was trying to get from you that his wife was lacking? Wow, that's a good question.
Well, as with most men who cheat or step outside whatever's, it's about the peaceful and intellectual connection. Peace being the operative word. Um, she was like he has shown me text messages that she would send him. She was a little rah rah at times, um, just mouthy, you know. And so it's what I offered him, who I naturally am, that he fell for. We shared common interests in poetry and music, and even though he didn't go to college, he still was highly intelligent. Um, and so we were able to have conversations about any and everything, and it's kind of like that with my husband. We had some good conversations at times, but there were just things that were beyond his realm of understanding. Um, yes, he showed me support with my poetry, but my husband didn't fully get it. He wasn't a creative person like I was, so there was a disconnect there. So it's like this other guy and I just fell into each other. Kind of not kind of. We were selfish. I'm just going to be grown up in a minute. We were very selfish in our dealings. Instead of having a conversation we
Mm,
need with our spouses, we
mm.
took the easy way. Well, what we thought was the easy way out.
I think it's twofold, QB, because I understand exactly what you're saying. Um, you know what I'm
I
saying?
do.
Before I continue, let me let in my next guest. You know what I'm saying? First Lady Tammy. Hey, Tammy. Good to see you.
Hi,
You
What's
know what I'm
going
saying?
on?
You
hi,
definitely in
Miss
the money
T.
for being here. Thank you, Tammy. Give you a little love. You know what I mean? Good seeing you. Thanks for being here. You know.
Thank you,
And AR
Tammy.
says thank you for sharing. You know what I mean with QB. But yeah, I would say that okay. This is what I'm saying, right? What I'm saying is this. Okay, people, you know what I mean, are naturally going to go to a place where they feel comfortable and they feel celebrated, right? That's why communication is important, and that's why counseling is important. If you don't communicate and you don't have the proper counseling, guidance, or people in your life to make sure that your relationship is going a certain course, then guess what? There's going to be other things that's happening. You know
Mm,
what I'm saying? Because in a relationship, you know what I mean, especially you gotta understand with us, we're not coming from a lineage, when we look at other cultures, right? They come from a lineage of people that are already married. Not only that, in other cultures, remember they have arranged marriages, right? So a lot of things with them is already structured. They have a certain structure. With us, there is no structure. It's go and do your own thing and kind of figure it out. And if you need some advice, right? right? If you really need me and it's like the ninth hour, then come call me. So don't be calling me every day, right? So I think when we know that and we feel that, because that's kind of how we are as a people at times, is we real about it, then guess what? That's gonna create a culture of people saying, you know what? I have to figure this out on my own. And there's certain things you can't figure out on your own. Certain things you need help. And then when we get help, a lot of times we look down upon. Oh, why y'all went to a therapist? What's wrong with y'all?
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We look down upon. You know what I mean? We're frowned upon. So, and I think, and that's where the parenting comes in Because if we have functional parents, they will be that covering that we need, right? So there'll be that covering. So if I'm having trouble in my marriage, man, I can go to my dad and talk to him. Dad, man, I'm having this problem. You've been here before. Help me. You know what I'm saying? I need your counsel. You know what I mean? And he gives me his counsel. Now it's up to me now to either take that advice or seek some other counsel. But at least it's there, right? But because we're not having that counsel, we're not having those conversations with our parents, you know what I'm saying? Then, it causes more dysfunction. But I want to give Tammy's perspective on just, just dysfunctional parenting, how it's affected her, and just kind of, and then QB, I want you to, continue going forward with the conversation because I know you got a lot of points to make. Well, I just wanted to ask her real quick. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, after Tammy, then I want to give Queen another opportunity because she works in a field where she sees a lot of the children that are the product of these type of families. So welcome First Lady Tammy, and thank you for joining us, and please share.
So yeah, Tammy, speak from your experience as
a teacher.
So
hold on, Queens.
So not only am I a parent, but I'm a middle school teacher. So,
oh wow,
I laugh about this kind of thing because I see a whole lot of stuff. I do think that toxic parenting, it can equal dysfunctional adults, but that's not always the case. So just because you have toxic parents is not a guarantee that you will be a dysfunctional adult. Because I do think it's about making intentional choices that are different from what you experienced. And I think some people are not able or willing to do that because they are not willing to address the toxicity that they have gone through. And I think that's the issue. I can say I had some toxic parenting, very toxic parenting. And I raised my daughter very differently than I was raised.
Okay.
Because of what I experienced, I refuse to allow my daughter to experience the same things. So I want my daughter to feel loved. So I make sure that she feels like she's loved. I tell her she's loved every day. I ask her if she feels like she's loved. And when she tells me that, when I ask her, I love you, she says yes. I ask her, how does she know? Because I want to know in what way is she interpreting the things that I do. That means that I love her. I want to know those things because those are things that I want to keep doing. I think with parenting, discipline and punishment are not the same thing. Punishment can be more of an emotional thing. And that can be very toxic in itself, whereas discipline, you really are trying to teach a lesson. You really are trying to help your child to understand certain things, and it's about accountability. Teaching, sorry, I always laugh because, I've seen a lot. There's a lack of accountability, which I think is toxic in itself when it comes to parents. Mm-hmm. Even today, I have a step team, and one of the girls for the step team, she was late, and she's continually been late. And the coach was addressing that with her, and her disregard for the fact she was late, the response of, and you still keep talking to this grown adult. It's just fascinating to me. But I find a lot of kids nowadays, there is no accountability. So they do what they do because they can. That nobody's going to say anything or do anything. There's no repercussions for them. So why should they have to, act appropriately or speak appropriately or do appropriately? So, working, especially in the middle school, there's a lot of things that you see, and you see a lot of kids that are crying out for certain things that they may not be getting at home. And some of these parents are not willing to address the things that they're doing that are toxic to their kids. And that's why you have a lot of parents that stay together for the kids. And, kids see a lot more than parents give them credit for, or they see a lot more than the parents just are choosing to acknowledge. Some parents know what their kids see, they just don't want to acknowledge it. And that's the thing is that, parents allow their kids to be in an environment that's not safe. And even if you're not hitting your kids, there's other ways of abusing your kids that are not healthy. So so yeah, I definitely think that, you know, toxic parenting, it can definitely equal dysfunctional adults, because as adults, you know, some people don't want to go seek counseling. Some people don't want to get help. Some people will not ask for help because in their mind, I need to do it on my own.
Mm.
So they won't ask for help. So, you know, I have friends that will not, that I can see that they have a need and they will not ask. They will continue to do whatever it is, even though they know that if they need, they can ask me. And if I have it, I give it. But I have too many friends that they will not ask for help because in their mind, I have to do it on my own. And
Wow.
so, and that's just the thing that just kind of sucks, because, you know, you learn that as an adult. And I think sometimes when you have a single parent, your mentality is, my mother did it on her own, so I need to do it on my own, or my father did it on his own, so I need to do it on my own. And that's the thing, you have to get out of that mindset. But in order to get out of that mindset, certain things have to be addressed. And the reality is a lot of people are not willing to address those things, because addressing that toxicity, you have to go back through that. Addressing that trauma, you have to go back through that. And trauma equals pain. And people don't want to go through that pain again. But you have to understand that even though you may have to go through that pain again, going through it again is going to help to heal you rather than continue to hurt you. So, yeah.
Come on now. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah, I think that also, you know what I mean, with that, I think that we have to realize that, like, once you go through that trauma of having a dysfunctional parent, you will have trauma that lingers on with you. You know what I'm saying? Now, when that trauma is lingering on, you know what I'm saying, now there has to be steps put in place to help you to get past that. You know what I'm saying? And I think also it's a time thing, right? So I cannot tell somebody when to get over their trauma. You know what I mean? I can't tell somebody how to basically deal with the person who's inflicted the trauma. You know what I'm saying? If that person is not completely open to having, you know, counsel. You know what I'm saying? The only thing I could tell them to do is to try to focus on the things that they can do and the steps they can take to work on themselves. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, you know, if you have a parent that's just, you know, they're not willing to take responsibility for anything, kind of like like one of my parents is, you know, it's give me my respect, give me my love. I'm the parent. I ain't do nothing wrong. I brought you here, you know what I mean, and just accept me for me. You know what I'm saying? So I think sometimes when you have that unruly type of parent who does not want to see that, you know what I mean, and sometimes we do have those cases. It's not everybody, but it is a sector of that. You know what I mean? I think the best thing to do when you're in that situation is to take the steps to really try to improve where you're at, and understand it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen in the time frame in which it happens. You know what I mean? But just work yourself through that process. And as Samuel was saying, communicate with the people that actually really care about you and actually really care about who you are and what you feel. So yeah.
Real quick, I just want to say one more thing. I do want people that watch to remember that just because somebody may be going through what you went through, do not assume that they can just deal with it the same way you did.
Yep.
Because everybody deals with things in different ways. So I think that sometimes we say, oh, well, I was able to get over it. They can too. It's not necessarily because people can experience the same trauma in a completely different way. So always just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Queen, you still awake?
Queen.
Wait, shut up. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say, I think you touched on a QB about how kids remember traumas or different things. I remember I was working with someone, and they stated that they remember being in a stroller and being outside all night, being cold, and barely having any food, with a soiled diaper, while their parent did whatever they were doing, drugs or,
Oh, wow.
doing different acts for money, and they were just saying that they never wanted their. I think that what they said was they realized this when they had their first child in, and their child was, they were pretty young when they had their first child. I wouldn't say like under 20. I remember another person I was working with, and she never wanted kids,
Okay.
but she ended up getting pregnant, and I remember her just breaking down, and just so worried about not being a good mom, not doing the things her mom did.
Wow.
And I said, so we just sat and we would always talk about, why do you think you're going to be her if you're aware of what she did and how much it hurt you? Because you are aware of the hurtful things and what kind of trauma it did to you. I guess her mom pretty much tried to delete her and OD'd, and actually threw herself into labor.
Oh.
And she was, and all that, she was like, the doctor, her foster mom, who pretty much raised her, she called her granny. Um, she would say that, she calls me her miracle child. And
Wow.
so I remember when she had her child, I remember being in the office, and she just called me like frantic one day and was just like, can't do it. She won't stop crying. I gotta do laundry. Like the littlest tasks would just send her on edge. And so I
Wow.
just remember I just told her, I said, hey, go grab a bag, pack some stuff, some clothes, diapers, some bottles for me, come to the office, go do your errands, go take a nap. I'll be here till 7 o'clock. And so she was like, what? I said, bye. And it was like 12. So I just, I just babysat for a few hours. I gave
Okay.
her a break, and we found a place that, instead of them surrendering the children,
Hmm.
it's a safe place where they can leave the child for, I think, up to like 3 weeks,
Oh, wow.
as long as they're like maybe going to therapy, dealing with whatever stresses that they're feeling. You
Okay.
know, it's almost like a break. And it was a beautiful place. So we called, and I said, hey, this is a resource. If you ever need support, this is one of your resources. But I remember just her being so traumatized by and her mom was back in her life, which was, I think, a lot of the triggers is
Okay.
because they never sat and dealt with what happened. And then the mom would get mad because she called the foster mom granny.
Oh.
And so it was like, so it was like, you guys need to go to family therapy and really deal with it, the toxicity. So a lot of it was the mom felt like she had to take care of her. So she would just buy her love and give her anything she wanted, just throw money at her.
Mm-mm.
And so yeah, so it just comes differently, you
Wow.
know. Um, but it's very true how kids do remember. They may not always be able to uh verbalize it, but when that trauma hits, it stays and it stains, and them stains are deep.
What I would love is for us, and I don't want to just be all pro black all the time, but I'm a black woman. I'm gonna say this until the day I die. I'm a black woman, and that's my experience. I can't speak for anybody else's experience. But what I would love to see, especially in the black community, is for us to become that village again. Um, however, we want to say that these kids are a new breed of kids, which I think is their parents are a new breed of parents. In that you can't say anything to them. They're ready to fight you, shoot you, cut you, something like. And Terry may can speak to this as a teacher. Kids nowadays think they're as big and bold and grown as the adults. Like I said, I be
Mm.
nosily minding my business on social media and saw this video. Um, the teacher and this young girl were arguing. And she was, while he kept saying, "Stop talking to me," she's still running her mouth. Now, what he said after that about her dad, that may have gone too far. However, she was still running her mouth. And he's a whole grown up. So, Miss Tammy, give us your insight on that.
That's like a day-to-day thing at the school that I work at. And I work with middle schoolers. I can only imagine what happens with the high schoolers. But I do think this is a new breed of parents. I think it is a new breed of kids because of the new breed of parents. Part of the problem is that you have a lot of people. I don't want to call them parents. You have a lot of breeders who are choosing to be friends rather than parents. And so in choosing to be friends, you talk to your kids like you guys are on the same level. You do things together because you're on the same level. And so your kids, they talk to you a certain kind of way because they're used to that. And they feel like they can talk to any kind of adult in the same way, not realizing that every adult is not going to let you talk to them that way.
Yeah.
So, I've been in my classroom. I've had to tell kids, I don't know who you think you're talking to, but I'm not your mom or whoever did you talk to like that. We're not going to have all that. So, but that's the thing is that there is a lack of accountability. So kids do certain things, and some parents, or like I said, some breeders, they wait too late to instill any type of consequences. And by that time, it's too late. The kid's not going to listen to you at that point. So,
Yes.
this whole let's be friends thing, we can be friends when we're adults. We're adults, we can be friends. But when you're a child needs to stay in a child's place.
Yes.
And that's the problem is that people are not allowing kids to be a child. You have kids where you having a grown-up conversation. The child is right there. You having all kinds of men or women up and through your house, and your kids are seeing all that. There's all these things going on, and there's nobody that's telling these kids the right things to do. They're seeing all the wrong things to do and the wrong ways to act, and nobody is telling them it's not okay. And that's part of the problem. That's why you have it where these kids will talk to you any kind of way, because that's what they do. That's their normal. And when you do try to say something to the parents, there is a parent that her son was just off the hook. And the parent said, well, you guys are targeting my son. Nobody's targeting your son. If you would actually come and sit in the classroom with him, you might kind of see what these teachers are talking about. When your child tells the teacher, you're not going to make it out of 2022. Like nobody's targeting your child. Your child is making themselves a target. But that's the problem is that some parents don't want to hold themselves accountable because sometimes your kids are the way they are because of the way that you have quote unquote parented them. Now sometimes they are the way they are because of their social circle. But some parents are not even in the know about what their kids are doing. They don't know who their kids' friends are. They don't know what their kids are doing. They don't know anything about what's going on in their kids' lives. So there's so much work that needs to be done, and some people are not willing to put the work in. Some people have babies and they don't fully understand what it means to be a parent. They don't fully understand that. They don't take the time to really see what the job is, because this is not just one day you do it. This is a lifelong commitment. And not everybody's ready for that lifelong commitment. Some people think they are, but when the tough times get there, they just run. They don't stick it out, they run.
Yes. And I used to work with an organization that catered to young parents under 25, and we provided one-on-one home visitation along with some group, peer interaction concerning parenting, childbirth, anything from pregnancy up to the age of 5, I think, of the child. So as long as those parents were willing to be in our program, they earned incentives. They got to see us, at least once a week, every 2 weeks. They got to come by the office anytime they wanted. They kept to call us, at random times. We were there for them. We we went above and beyond what we probably were supposed to do for our clients. But when I tell you I loved it and I put myself all into it because I know what I didn't have when I was their age. And um, I want to be that for them. That's the kind of person I am. And so while I have let the toxic things that I was exposed to affect me as an adult in other areas of my life, that's one area when it comes to service to others, I tried to hold back on because I know what
Mm.
I didn't have growing up. And I
I,
don't want to see anybody else lack in that area. Go ahead, Mr. Best.
I will say this though, like I will say that um I was aware of a lot of things like as a child. Like I was aware, and I may ruffle some feathers here, but I'm speaking from experience. All right,
Okay.
and this is being raised by a single mom, just seeing certain things. Like at the end of the day, when you're not in a household where there's two parents, and either it's two parents and y'all live in the house, y'all in the household and y'all boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever, or you're actually married or engaged or whatever, the child knows. Like I knew my dad wasn't around. You know what I'm saying? I knew my mom was out there, what I mean, partying up and doing all that. I mean, she didn't have to, bring her company, over to the crib. You know what I'm saying? But I knew things was going on. I knew she was having adult experiences. You know what I mean? Which is healthy and fine. You know what I'm saying? But I think a lot of times we think the kids don't know.
Yeah, the
But the kids,
kids.
we know. Like I knew when when she gave me that NyQuil that she was
No.
trying to go out and have fun, and
No.
I would personally try to get myself to wake up so she wouldn't go out, and
Oh,
she
wow.
would get frustrated at this. You know what I'm saying? Or the sleepy time tea or whatever they use nowadays. Shout out to Mimsy Limbs,
Hey, hey,
aka
man.
Scriptures and Chill. She said, "Hey y'all, hey Mimsy, good to
And
go,
see,
good to go, good to see you." You know what I
that's
mean?
the.
Definitely. But see, I want to finish my point real quick, QB. Um, I know our time is limited. We only got
No.
like another 20 minutes or so. But my thing is this, right? Like I think when the kid doesn't grow up with both parents in the home consistently, they feel it. You know what I'm saying? And as they get older, they feel it more and more and more and more and more. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I think that's really the thing, because I felt it. I felt it. You know what I mean? I felt like certain things. I knew certain things was off. I was like, man, mom is kind of this way, or she's crying over this guy, or whatever, and it affected me as a child. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? So I think it's important for when the parents are single, whether it's a woman or a man, doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? To me, if you are a single parent, you know what I'm saying? Try to find, I'm not saying rush into love, but try to find a stable situation, you know what I mean, that's healthy for you and your child. You know what I'm saying? Until then, I would say just stay single, because that's gonna impact that child, whether you realize it or not. Like all the experiences my mom went through, it affected me because I'm her child and I'm directly connected to her. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And I'm getting all of my main guidance and my wisdom outside of my grandparents, because they was a big force too. But I'm getting most of the majority of that from her. You know what I
Okay.
mean? She's feeding my senses, she's feeding my intellect, she's feeding different things into me, whether it's through different things we watched on TV, different things we ate, all different types of things. You know what I'm saying? Like it all educated me in different ways. I gotta bring in my next guest, you
Okay.
know what I'm saying? M3, you know what I'm saying, is in the building. You know what I'm
What's
saying?
up?
You know?
What's up?
Hi.
Gotta get
What's up? What's
gotta give him
up?
the shout out. So yeah, M3, thanks for joining QB. Let us know where you want to go, and you
Okay.
can ask M3 his perspective as well.
Yes, I definitely will. But I want to real quick mention a movie. Y'all, I watch up too much TV, I guess. To reference something Miss Tammy was First Lady Tammy was saying, there's a movie called 187 that stars Samuel L. Jackson. This movie came out in '97, so I don't know how old y'all are, but this
I remember that
movie.
movie.
Okay, so basically, it was a student who didn't like what the teacher was doing and saying this whatever, and so he decided to try to put a hit out on him. And so, going back to what Tammy First Lady Tammy was saying about how kids act in school. They don't like what you say, like what you do. They think they can buck up against you because of the lack of parenting and guidance they're getting at home. And here I know this is just a movie, but this is also real life. I mean, we might not see it every day on the news, but it's real life. But anyway, welcome, Mr. M. I'm gonna look M3, Mr. B. M3. Welcome.
What's up?
So I don't know how much of the
Did we confuse
conversation
you? I don't know.
you've been keeping up with, but give us your perspective, insight on toxic parents and dysfunctional adults, and you may have encountered some dysfunctional adults and whatever. So.
All right. So the problem is that when you're a toxic parent, okay, and this is the funny part because this speaks contrary to popular belief that a two-parent household can help make a child functional.
Mm-mm.
But if you're in a two-parent dysfunctional household where two parents are just arguing, fighting, and you're seeing domestic violence, that still affects the child in a negative way. And a lot of times, right, people from certain like communities, when they grow up in that toxic environment, unfortunately, the kids take the they don't become different from their parents.
Mm.
They actually become carbon copies of them. And then they wind up doing the same thing, breeding dysfunctional households where you're meeting a woman based on your level as a man or vice versa, a woman to a man. But and then you're breeding a bunch of kids. You're bringing more kids into this life while you're still, producing and carrying the torch to a toxic environment. So
Mm-hmm.
then it becomes inherent.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
most definitely. So yes, the number of parents has no bearing on the child's development, what they experience, and then how they eventually turn out. And again, I don't know, someone has mentioned before that what you experience in your younger formative years, those wounds go very deep, and you don't always know your triggers. And so you could
Mm-hmm.
think you're sailing along smooth. You're 35 years old, nice job, a running car, nothing nice, a running car and a place to live, and
Mm.
something just triggers you that you don't even know comes out of nowhere, and you have a breakdown. You may turn to alcohol, other substances. You may become a sex addict. You may become a violent and abusive person toward other people. Like, these triggers can unlock all kinds of behaviors that you didn't know were there. So, yes. But I want to give everyone a chance, about a good 3 to 5 minutes, however long you need, to just share um, your thoughts, your last thoughts on toxic parenting, how it affects the children, dysfunctional adults, and then especially First Lady and Queen, because you all work with children and young adults on a regular basis. Definitely give your insight for those listening on how we, the outsiders, can help those children. Um, so, Mr.
I'm
M3,
a,
would you like
I'm gonna
to?
say this. I'm gonna say this real quick. You know what I
Okay.
mean? I think that and I think that even the statistics even show it that like if you grow up in a two parent home, you do the outcome for the child is a lot better. You know what I'm saying? And they have more balance and they just have more functionality. You know what I'm saying? So um, I think that definitely is a key factor. I'm not saying in those homes that everything is perfect, or I'm not saying there may not be abuse in some of these homes. But even the statistics show if you grow up in a single parent home, you know what I mean, you're gonna be lacking some things. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I look at and I also look at the people who've had two parents, and when I look at the people who don't have two parents, and I'm able to compare it, not just from a statistical standpoint, but also from a life standpoint, and I see the things that both have in common. There's some certain traits that I see that both have in common. Um, but yeah, of course, you can have dysfunction in any type of household. You can have two parents, and you can have a grandparent and an auntie and an uncle and everybody else live in the house. and the house could be off the charts. It could be off the hook. You know what I'm saying? But that is also a big thing too. So I think we gotta look at all levels of dysfunction, right? So dysfunction can happen with both parents. It can happen with single parents. It can happen with parents and grandparents in the household. It can happen with uncles, aunties, everybody. So I think we gotta, when it comes to dysfunction, it comes in very, very different, variations and very different, aspects. You know what I'm saying? And I think all levels of dysfunction, all levels of trauma that's breeded through the dysfunction, they all have to be covered and respected. You know what I mean? And I think the best thing we got to do is to help people. You know what I mean? And help them to get the help they need. Give them the support if we can give them the support, and I'll point them in the direction of support that they need, and just keep it going. You know what I'm saying? The worst thing to do is to kind of trauma shame them,
Okay.
or make them feel like their plight is not worth, feeling something about, because they've gone through something, and we have to acknowledge that. So yeah,
Alrighty. Thank you, sir.
no problem. I'm gonna give everybody 2 minutes to speak. You know what I'm saying, before we close out, so everybody can say their final thoughts, and then QB, you can end us off.
Alrighty. M3.
Yeah. Okay. Just now the 2 minutes, right? What you want us to say?
Just your final thoughts on toxic parenting, dysfunctional adults, how it affects, about everything in between.
All right. I'll make it short because I have to restart my computer. But so my final thoughts are, as a parent, well, if you're a parent and you're raising kids, okay, you want to make sure that even before you think about parenthood, make sure that you are with the person that's going to work with you and help you to make sure you guys have a stable home. Make sure that you probably vet the people that you are with, but don't also be the person, that creates toxicity, you know, because two toxic people is just going to be a toxic disaster when it comes to families, and you don't want to breed that. So, anybody who's listening, if you're a parent and you're on the verge of creating like a toxic environment, think about this video, take some notes to this, learn from the mistakes of other people. Look how like kids they grow up when these things like tend to happen. And let's just say, well, okay, for instance, if you are just a single person, single parent, okay, and you've been in an environment of toxicity, okay, still it's up to you to make the change of it. So make sure you make the best decisions, because you're not just affecting yourself, you're affecting your child and you're affecting other generations. And that's all I'm just gonna say before I have to log out.
Thank you for that. Alrighty.
Thank you, M3. Thank you, brother.
No
First
problem.
lady, First lady Tammy.
What I would say is, before you even think about being a parent, like before you even get into a relationship, make sure you've tried to address the traumas that you've been through, and acknowledge that you've been through them. So first you have to acknowledge that you've been through them and do what you can to work through that. As a teacher, be a good listener. Not all teachers are good listeners. Not all teachers build relationships with students. So take the time to get to know your students. Allow your students to get to know you. Allow them to know the things that you've gone through to get you to where you are, because you can build a bond that can help them to open up, because they may not be able to open up to anybody at home. Understand that even if you had a parent that was toxic, that's not a guarantee that you will be a toxic parent.
Okay.
You can be a different kind of parent. Just because your parents did certain things does not mean that you have to do those same exact things. You can choose to do things differently, especially if you know what you went through. You don't want your kids to have to go through that. So choose to do something different. So it's about making intentional choices, and it's about accountability. So that's the thing that I think that we just have to do, is make sure we hold ourselves accountable, but also hold these kids accountable and hold these parents accountable. So I think that's the main thing, is holding ourselves accountable, addressing what we've been through, acknowledging what we've been through, and taking the time to listen to your kids when your kids are telling you something about somebody. Listen to what
Yes.
you're saying when they're telling you something about these kids at school, when they're telling you about an adult, when they're telling you about a family member, about a quote unquote family friend. Listen to your kids. Do not put that off. Do not ignore it. Acknowledge what your kids are
Mhm.
saying and take the time to actually hear them.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing to hear them. It's another thing to actually, it's nothing to listen. It's another thing to actually hear.
Mhm.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you.
And Miss Queen Forever.
Um, I just want to say, reproduction is a privilege. It shouldn't be a right. Um, some people should just never reproduce.
Yeah.
That's just where they are in life, and it's unfortunate because those are the ones that are usually the most fertile. But that's just another story for another day. I would just like to say that remember that that little one did not ask to come here. They need guidance, they need support, and they need love.
Mhm.
And if you are not in the space to do that, it's okay. There, put them in foster care. Do you know? Ask her aunt or ask someone to help you take care of them for a while. But you know, and if you choose to have a child, remember it's not about you anymore. You can still see. This is the thing. You can still live your life, have fun, go out and do whatever, and still be a great parent. My
Yes, ma'am.
parents partied. My parents went out, you know, and we still had fun. I mean, they're not your little twin. Stop dressing them up. Please
Good.
stop over sexualizing these little girls. Got them in crop tops and booty shorts and doing duck lips and sexual dances. Come on, please stop over sexualizing these little girls. Please stop. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. They are not your mini me. It's okay to look cute and dress the same, but they don't have to wear exactly what you wear. Come
Yeah.
on. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Thank you. So, first and foremost, want to say thank you to everyone in the chat, everyone on the panel. First of all, thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing your insight. Thank you to Mr. Best in the World and the Intellectual Soapbox for giving me this platform. Um, I hope that someone took something away from this. And if you see something, say something, interact to the best of your ability. But we need to start putting our children first, children around the nation first. Um, Help them get the support they need, help them learn how to live in a safe space and not just in survival mode. Everyone deserves to live in a space where they are free and feel a sense of calmness and peace. I know this is reality, not, virtual reality. However, be the best advocate you can be to the best of your abilities. So let us start developing and gravitating back toward that village mentality. If you're going to say you're black or you're whatever ethnicity, many of those people lived in different villages and they had a very tight knit structure to their family units. And so let's try to get back to that. No matter what ethnicity you are, no matter what gender you are, men play a vital role in the raising of the children, just like the woman who gave birth to that child. So, yes, that's all I have for you. Again, thank y'all for joining Conversations, where we have cozy conversations over here that feels like a warm blanket out of the dryer at times, but sometimes it's going to be the medicine you need with a little teaspoon of sugar, though. Just a little bit. So, Mr. Best in the World, you can take us out.
Man, thank everybody in the chat for coming through. I appreciate all of y'all. You know what I mean? Thank you for supporting. As always, we definitely appreciate the love and support that y'all giving us. You know what I mean? And y'all all in the money for that one. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for everybody jumping on the panel. Queen, First Lady Tammy, and of course QB, because this is her conversation. You know what I mean? I'm Mr. Best in the World, 84, also known as the Intellectual Soapbox. You know what I'm saying? And yes, please, go and view knowledge and relationships. In around 30 minutes, we have another show coming up. Okay, it'll be easy. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
Salute to Be Easy and Riggs, Easily Riggs. Shout out to Big Riggs. You know what I mean? Our prayers and love are with you and your family. We know you just went through a hard situation, brother, and we're here to support you and much love to you. Also, shout out to the rookie Marcus. Marcus, what's going on, man?
Hey,
You know what I'm saying?
Marcus.
You missed the show, bro, but check out the replay. We appreciate you, man. Thank you for being here. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, with that, you know what I'm saying? We are out, y'all. You know what I mean? See y'all next week. Later.
Bye.
DJ.